Let's be honest, there is a not fun way to collect Pokemon cards. It looks a little bit like this, and this, and worst of all, this. And here's the problem. The Pokemon TCG is absolutely on fire right now, and there are a ton of people looking to get started with their own collections. You may even be one of them. So the purpose of this video is to prove that there are still fun ways to collect, and show you exactly how to do it. And like any good YouTuber, I put my personal favorite tip at the very end. Let's start with what might be the hardest part of collecting Pokemon cards in 2025. Tuning out the hype. I know that probably sounds weird, especially if the hype is what got you interested in the first place. And let's be real, it probably was. Because this hobby, it's infectious. Watching creators like PokeRev tear through packs and light up over their favorite pulls is just plain fun. It's easy to get hooked. But here's the catch. The same content that draws you in can also burn you out fast. When everyone's chasing the same few cards, prices skyrocket, store shelves get cleared out, and yet you end up with people throwing elbows over cardboard in Costco. And while I'm sure none of you watching are those people, us buying so many cards is kind of why this problem exists. So that brings us to step number 1. Avoid the hype. Just because everyone online is obsessing over cards like Bubble Mew from Paldean Fates, the Greninja from Twilight Masquerade, or God help us, the Moonbryon 2.0 from Prismatic Evolutions, doesn't mean those are the only cards you need to chase. In fact, I'd argue it's the exact opposite. Whatever the hobby is collectively freaking out about at the moment, that's usually where the stress lives, not the fun. So instead of diving into the feeding frenzy, step back and breathe. There are so many amazing cards out there that aren't the flavor of the week, and they'll almost certainly bring you more joy in the long run. If you want to enjoy the hobby to its fullest, you're gonna have to do some research. I know it's easier to just watch some YouTube videos, but the majority of videos out there are talking about the same few cards. And that's part of how they get so ridiculously expensive. The really cool thing about collecting Pokemon cards is that there are so many ways to do it. And if you spend some time to look around, you're almost guaranteed to find one that appeals to you. Here's a couple of ideas to get you started. Master sets. This is a classic, and for good reason. A master set means collecting every single card from a specific set, including all the common cards, holos, reverse holos, and secret rares. It's super satisfying to see an entire binder filled out from front to back, and it gives you a clear goal to work towards. Bonus points if you organize it in a way that looks clean and professional. It's like finishing a really big puzzle, but one where every piece is shiny and nostalgic. Next is specific Pokemon. If you've got a favorite Pokemon, maybe it's Charizard, Gengar, or something a little more off the wall like Ludicolo, try tracking down every single card that features that Pokemon. It's way more doable than you think. And seeing all the different art styles and eras side by side is a blast. Some collectors even go the extra mile and collect every language version too. That's definitely expert level though. Then there's art style. This one is for people who are driven first and foremost by the gorgeous art of Pokemon cards. Maybe you're drawn to abstract illustrations, the countless fun color shifted shinies, or maybe you like the adorable ones that look like they belong right in a storybook. You'd be surprised how many mini art museums you can build out of just these cards by following your own aesthetic taste. Next we have all specific Pokemon from a specific generation. Are you a big fan of Gen 2, Gen 4, or maybe Gen 5 is your hidden gem? Try building a binder where you collect one card of every Pokemon from that generation. You can go with their most iconic print, your favorite version, or even just the cheapest one you can find. It's an awesome way to revisit the Pokédex in a totally personal way, and it helps you avoid only going after what's currently trending. Last but not least is a mix match group of cards that you enjoy. Honestly, this might be my favorite way to collect. No rules, no structure, just vibes. If a card makes you smile, brings back a memory, or has art that just feels cool, add it to the binder. This is your personal Poke dream team. These kind of collections are like a time capsule of your tastes, and they often end up being the most meaningful too. So let's say you figured out what kind of collector you want to be. You've got your binder ready, a list of cards you're excited about, and maybe even a budget in mind. The next big question is, where do you actually buy your cards? Sure, you can stick with the tried and true routes, eBay, TCG Player, all of that. And hey, there's nothing wrong with those. They're convenient, reliable, and packed with options. But they do have some downsides. This convenience comes at a cost. Seller fees are built into prices, which means you'll usually be paying a bit more per card compared to other places. And even though sellers list card conditions like near mint or lightly played, those terms can be a little subjective. So if you're particular about condition, you might find yourself a bit disappointed here and there. So if you want your collecting journey to feel a bit more fun, more memorable, and a whole lot more personal, try exploring some creative ways to buy your cards. Facebook groups focused on the Pokemon TCG are a great place to start. These aren't just buy and sell forums, they're communities. You're talking directly to real people, often other collectors just like you. You can work out deals, ask questions, make trades, even make a friend along the way. It turns what would have just been a transaction into an actual interaction. And that feels good. And then there's card shows. And seriously, if you have never been to one, just go. Browsing binders in person, negotiating with sellers, and actually holding the cards before you buy them, it's a totally different experience. And here's the best part. When you pick up a card at a show, it doesn't just get added to your collection. It becomes a memory. You'll remember the table you got it from, the person you talked to, and the moment you decided, yeah, this one's coming home with me. These buying methods aren't just about getting cards. They're about getting connected to the hobby, to the community, and that makes every purchase just feel a little bit more special. This one might be the most underrated tip in the entire hobby. Have a plan. And I don't mean a vague idea like, I want cool cards. I mean a real intentional plan for what you're collecting and where every card is going to go. Here's why this matters. A lot of new collectors start off with what I like to call the shotgun approach. You get excited, you start browsing online, hit a few local shops, and suddenly you're buying anything that catches your eye. A full art Mew here, a random Pikachu there, maybe even a reverse holo energy card just because it sparkles. Before you know it, you've got a random stack of cards and no real direction. And what usually happens next? Those cards go into a cardboard box, maybe a random tin, and they stay there, forgotten, out of sight and out of mind. Not because you didn't care about them when you bought them, but because they didn't have a place in your collection. There was no plan. So here's the move. Have a place in mind for every card you buy. If you're building a binder collection, sketch it out, literally. Know what page that card is going on. Is it part of the master set, part of your all Gen 3 Pokemon page? Or maybe it's going into your favorite art styles binder, right between those two sleeping Snorlaxes. If you're more of a display collector, same rule applies. If you're buying cards for your wall, already know what kind of frame or shelf you're putting it in. If it's going into a one-touch magnetic case, have that case ready. Have a spot on your shelf where it's going to live and shine. Not only does this make collecting more satisfying, it also keeps you focused. It helps you resist impulse buys, and it turns your collection into something cohesive and intentional instead of a chaotic pile. And honestly, it just feels way better to slide a card into the exact slot you have saved for it, rather than just tossing it into a top loader and hoping you remember it later. So before you click buy now or open your next booster, ask yourself, where does this card fit in? And if you don't have a good answer, maybe wait until you do. Okay, this last tip is probably my personal favorite, and it's the one I mentioned earlier that really changed collecting for me. Get someone else involved. A friend, a sibling, your partner, a kid, it really doesn't matter who. What matters is that you're not doing this hobby completely alone. Because here's the thing, cracking packs and browsing cards solo can be fun, but it can also get a little lonely and frustrating, especially when you open 5 packs in a row and your best pull is a holographic Zangoose. But when someone else is there with you, someone to laugh with, react with, and share in that moment, it transforms the entire experience. Suddenly, even those underwhelming pulls become memories worth keeping. And trust me, I say all of this from experience. It wasn't easy, but I eventually got my wife on board with collecting Pokemon cards, and even watching content online with me. And once that happened, it stopped being just my hobby. It became our thing. A way for us to spend real quality time together. Just like that time she got me to watch the entirety of Gilmore Girls with her. And you know what? I kinda loved it.
My involvement ends here with the laundry basket.
What is that flipper mark supposed to mean?
Sometimes it's not about what you're doing, but who you're doing it with. And collecting Pokemon cards is just one more excuse to create those kinds of shared moments. So if there's someone in your life that you think might even be a little bit interested, invite them in. You might be surprised how much more fun this hobby is when it's shared. Now, if you're getting serious about all this, you can check out my Pokemon collecting crash course that goes into every era of the TCG from base set through the one we're in right now, Scarlet and Violet. Thanks for watching.